Shalom, brothers and sisters. This is our brother Malak from the 12 Tribes United. Today is a celebration of a holiday called Thanksgiving. And let's give you some history on Thanksgiving, the holiday Thanksgiving. When Columbus and the settlers came to the Americas, meaning North, Central, and South America, in the islands of the Western Hemisphere, you had natives there that were original to that land. And basically what they did is they destroyed them. They slaughtered them. They enslaved them. And the holiday Thanksgiving is a celebration of that. All right. You North, Central, South America, you Native Americans, you're the Israelites, and you Negroes are Israelites. All right, that's according to Deuteronomy 28. I got a video on that. All right, so they was giving thanks to their God, which is not the Most High, which is basically Satan, for giving them the weapons to conquer the Native Americans and enslave them. Also, what they did was they changed some of their names. You know, they became Native Americans or Indians. Later on, they start classifying some of them as Negro, so they can, you know, take away their rights and so forth and so on. And now you got these, white people running around with feathers on, talking about they're Indian, and they're really Caucasians. That basically they stole their land from the natives. They claim themselves as natives, like you have the Mormons and so forth and so on. So there's a lot of history behind the Native Americans that people don't know. People think the Native Americans are white-looking people or Chinese-looking people. Those are people came later. The original man of the Americas is a so-called black man and woman. The original settlers, the 10 tribes, they were so-called black. You look at the pictures of the Olmecs, you'll see that they're so-called black. You know, they wasn't looking like they look today. All right? That's one thing a lot of people don't know. You know, they think that they're so-called they're another nation. All right, so basically, you know, we're not going to go into that right now. As a matter of fact, let's go into what you call the Apocrypha, which was part of the Old Testament, by the way. You see it in the old Catholic Bibles and so forth and so on. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, 13 and 40. It says, and these are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salamazar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, so they came into another land. So the 10 tribes are what you call today Native Americans. Native Americans, whether they are in the Spanish country or in the English country or French country of the Americas. All right. So they were carried away captive, the 10 tribes, and it says, but they took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen. So here it is, the 10 tribes that were in Assyria, which would be today known as Iraq. So they took counsel and they said that they're going to leave the multitude of the heathen, meaning they're going to leave, you know, Assyria and go somewhere else. It says, and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. So what did they do? They went into a place where no man dwelt. What place is called the New World? Even a few hundred years ago, it was where? The Western Hemisphere. No one dwelt there before the 10 tribes came over here. All right. They left in approximately 722 BC. If you look at the history of the Olmecs actually date back to that time period. the Olmecs in the Americas and all and so forth and so on. So they went where no mankind dwelt. You got Israelites out here teaching. They went to Africa. They went here. They went there. No, people had already inhabited Africa. They went here to America. It's 10 tribes. All right. You see artifacts of Native Americans speaking Hebrew and wearing fringes. All right. Speaking ancient Hebrew, not the Hebrew of today. It says that they may keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passage of the river. For the Most High showed them signs for them, and he held still the flood till they passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go. So from Assyria to these Americas, namely of a year and a half. And the same region is called Assyria. Assyria is America. Basically, it was a new land. So Assyria is America. Is North, Central, South America. All right. Then dwelt they there until the latter time, and now they shall begin to come. So it's a little history of how the Native Americans got over here. When the settlers came to the Americas, they brought with them Hebrew interpreters because the Native Americans, they know they spoke Hebrew. That was a known fact. In the 1600s, 1400s. Everybody knew that. You look at the Native Americans of today, you look at their languages, they go back to the Hebrew language. All right? Has similarities, names, and so forth and so on. Names that sound Hebrew. Now, let's go to 1 Corinthians, the 8th chapter. It says, now as touching things offered unto idols, we know that we all have knowledge. So we all supposed to have knowledge of what's an idol and what's offered to idols. Knowledge puffeth up, and charity edifies. So sometimes you can have this knowledge, and it puffs you up. You thinking you better than what the scriptures say. You better than these laws. All right. Now, let's go down to 4. As concerning therefore the eating of those things that are offered in sacrifice unto idols. So like I said earlier, Thanksgiving. It's not the Most High. They're dealing with Satan. All right? And they're eating these foods, even though turkey's a clean food. Okay? They're offering it to their God, to a false God. We know that idol is nothing in the world, and that there was none other God but one. So we know that an idol is nothing. It says, for there be that are called gods, so there's false gods, because it has a lowercase g, whether in heaven or in earth, as there are gods many and lords many. So it also has, there's also lords, false lords. But to us there is one God, the Father, of whom are all things. So to us, there's only one God. It says, and we in him, and one Lord, Jesus Christ, by whom all things, and we by him. So to us, we should know that there's only one Lord, one God. Our Lord is Jesus Christ, and the Most High is our God. All right? Howbeit that there is not every man that knowledge, meaning everybody doesn't know that. For with conscience of the idol unto this hour eat, as it is a thing offered unto an idol, and their conscience is being weak is defiled. So basically, some people are weak. They don't know the scriptures. They don't know that there's only one God. And they eat things like today. People are in ignorance, and they think that they're giving Thanksgiving to the Most High, and they're not. They're really, praising Satan. All right? So let's go to the 10th chapter. It's going to go more into it. Now, let's go down to 1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter, and 20. But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to idols. They sacrifice to devils. So who celebrated this holiday? First, it was the settlers. They wasn't Israelites. They were other nations, right? So it says, and not to the Most High. And I would not that ye shall have fellowship with devils. So we're not to, we see our people celebrating this holiday, so-called holiday, that praises basically Satan. All right. We're not to eat with those people. All right. We're to refrain from that. All right. So-called Christmas is coming up, which I'm going to go into that another day. It says, "Ye cannot drink of the cup of the Lord," meaning you cannot. When it said drink of the cup of the Lord, that means keep the communion and also the high holy days. And the cup of devils, you can't hear it as you keep the Most High's high holy days in the scriptures, but then you go and keep these holidays of the world. You cannot do that. All right. It says, now, so we're not to eat food sacrificed unto idols at all. Let's go down to 24. This is where people get confused. "Whatsoever is sold in shambles, that eat. Answer no questions for conscience sake." Somebody read this and says, "Oh, don't ask nobody, is this food or pork?" No, it's not talking about that. It's talking about food sacrificed to idols. Meaning, if you're given food, don't ask if it's sacrificed to idols. All right? Now, a day like today, somebody gives you food, you know it's so-called Thanksgiving. So you can't eat that. All right? Because you know what that's about. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. What somebody gives you a turkey, gives you a meal, they invite you over to their house, you know what it's for, because you know what today is. 27. "If any of them that believe not bid you to a feast," so here it is, you may have family members, they tell you to come to a feast, "and ye be disposed to go, whatsoever is set before you, ask no questions for conscience sake." So once again, let's just say you have family members and they offer you to a regular feast. We're not talking about a feast of these holidays, because you know what it is. You don't have to ask any questions because you know what it's pertaining to. You don't go to that. All right? Make sure the food is clean. Make sure it's according to the dietary laws. "But if any man say unto you, this is offered in sacrifice unto idols," so here it is, they bid you to a feast, and then like Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, and so forth and so on, or whatever is given to, if it's given to an idol, it says, "Eat not for this sake that showeth it." So once they tell you that this food is sacrificed to idols, you don't eat of that food, because you're conscious, all right? It says, "And for conscience sake, for the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof." So a day like today, us as repentant Israelites, we're not to eat of this. We're not to eat of this, all right? Because it's not pertaining to the Most High. It's pertaining to Satan, all right? The white man praising his God, which is the devil, for giving them power over the Native Americans in North, Central, and South America. All right? So we're not to eat of that. So the conclusion of this show is we're not to eat of this Thanksgiving dinner. All right? Eat your own food at home. All right? And don't even go and buy a turkey, because people that see you, they may not believe and they thinking you eating of Thanksgiving. So for conscience sake and not to offend, just eat your own food at home. Some brothers even said they're going to fast. All right? So we're not to do this. We're not to sacrifice unto idols. We're not to eat foods that pertain unto idols. All right? All right. Shalom.